Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Photo Notes. I'm Tony Colangelo, and I'm with my friend Wayne Capilli.
Hello.
Hey, Wayne. So today we are really excited to do part two of our two-part Twilight series. And one of the reasons why we're so excited, actually a couple of reasons. First, Wayne is going to be highlighting his own approach to editing Twilight. But Wayne, I got to tell you, one of the reasons that I'm excited about this Twilight segment is after our first part, we got a bunch of really good questions from our viewers. And I thought, and an awful lot of them revolved around sort of the mechanics and what are some of the basics that we should be considering at the shoot. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad we got those questions, Wayne, because really it's a nice transition, because ultimately our best work in editing happens when we do our best work at the shoot. Yeah. And part of that best work is really being prepared and understanding that we have a limited amount of time. And again, reiterating a couple of the things that we said last time about getting there early and just making sure that we select the camera angles. We've taken care of, props and staging and what have you, if we decide to do that. And we just want to be ready because we have a very limited window in terms of getting that magical twilight. Right. And to highlight that point, I'd like to show everybody, Wayne, 3 pictures. So this was one of my first twilights taken many years ago. And this is actually the builder's home. Even though the first phase of Twilight, in which we do most of our work, depending on where you are in the world, will last 20 to 25 minutes, our window for our work, where we find that balance between the interior light and exterior light, is very limited. It's only a few minutes. And I wanted to highlight that for folks. Here's a photo of this house exactly at sunset, okay?
Okay.
This next photo, look at how much darker it is. That's only 4 minutes later. Yeah. And we can start seeing here the makings of a really good twilight shot. We start seeing where, the interior lights are starting to look pretty good. The sky is getting a little bit darker. But again, if we take a look at sunset and then this one, that's only 4 minutes, Wayne.
Also, one of the things that we need to really point out is only the exterior lights are getting darker. The interior lights we can't change. So we're really changing the ratio of the outside light to the inside light. The inside lights are not getting brighter. They are, so we have to put that out, that the inside lights are not getting brighter. The outside is getting darker. So right. We're playing with the ratios here.
Right. So if we were to wait another 4 minutes, we're getting into a spot now where, there's not much there. And these 3 photos are my 0 EVs within my bracket from sunset to 8 minutes. Look at how much light we lose. So all the more reason to go in, be prepared. If we're using a single camera and we're running from spot to spot, we should have done our homework so we know exactly what spot to go to. Or if you're like me and I use multiple cameras, it's important to get there early and to make sure that we know exactly the shot that we want, because as you can see here, even 8 minutes, this is too dark in my books.
Right. So go to the middle. Go to the middle shot, the center one.
Yeah, this is 4 minutes.
Nice. It's a nice balance. Now go to the 8 minute one.
Here's the 8 minutes.
I want to let everybody know we've gone from photographing a house. This is now standing outside watching the family. So this is stock revision, and this is not what we want to do.
Yeah, that was your concept from last time.
This is my concept from last time. There's a difference between taking pictures, being invited to the house, and standing on the outside watching everybody. So we don't want this look.
Working with camera raw, there's lots that we can do. Once we have this balanced light, we can fiddle around with the highlight slider. And as you can see, we can get a lot more detail in the sky. If we wanted to, we can go into the adjustment panel and paint over the shadows around the house to make the house pop up. And to be honest with you, Wayne, that's most of the heavy lifting done right there from one photo.
Right. And also, one thing about exposure in camera raw, we could go to the 8-minute exposure where it's dark, and we could lift the shadows, but because the exposures are dark, as you lift the shadows, it becomes noisy. So that's another reason why you want proper exposure when you're doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
We can lift it up. We really can lighten it with this underexposed, but when you start lifting it a lot, that introduces noise. So that's another reason why we want to stress proper exposure as opposed to trying to correct it later.
Yeah. And again, getting there early, finding your camera angles, having that done first allows for a better editing process because we're there on time. We're already set up and ready to go when we get these magical 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes where the light is balanced, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that gives us options. So here, let me cancel out of this. And we see here, this is a shot that I took earlier on in that twilight phase. And here's one that I took later on. And again, I'm shooting brackets for both. I'm shooting 5-shot brackets, 1-stop intervals. That's the way that I prefer to do it. And again, choosing the camera angles, and I'm running back and forth, taking these brackets, and I'm able to deliver to my clients 2 different twilights, 2 different angles. Okay.
Nice.
Now, before we go on to your editing piece, Wayne, I wanted to share a little tip for folks, especially some of our newer viewers who are just starting up to doing these twilights. One of the things that I had the hardest time with when I started doing twilights, I couldn't wrap my head around this concept of interior lights being balanced with Mother Nature. For whatever reason, I had a mental block about that until I got this tip. I think it was Mike Kelly who said it, that on the back of our camera, if we go into our menu system, there is sort of like this highlight alert feature within our menu that when we have a portion of the shot that is overexposed, in other words, we have no information for camera raw in that portion of the shot, it blinks. There's a red flashing element on that portion of the shot. And Mike said that we're in that magical 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes is when those blinkies essentially go away. He calls them blinkies. And I thought that was a great tip. And I just want to share that with our viewers.
Hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike. Yeah. What are the odds he's watching?
Oh, he is.
Okay, Wayne. So I'm going to stop sharing because I want to see what you do from an editing perspective, because really that's the core message that we want to deliver in this segment of doing twilight and dusk shots.
This is a really large glass house, and I shot this again at sunset. But what happens is these particular kind of houses, because of the size of the glass, have glazing on it, and the glazing actually prevents, it's a 2-stop filter on the glass. So
wow,
we really can't shoot it like normal because we have to wait a much longer time to take pictures because, this is sunset, and I actually had to wait past sunset so we can actually get the lights to start glowing. And
amazing.
And as you see, so you can actually start seeing the glow inside the house now.
Yeah.
And then I had to actually get another exposure to balance out the center area.
Right.
So from here, this is again from my point of view, it's beginning kind of stalkery kind of look. It's really not inviting. And one of the things that's not inviting is that there's too much contrast for this light. So we want to have light kind of coming out.
Right.
So I decided to light paint this. So this is all the light painting thing. Now, let me change this. So this is normal. And these are, as we go down, I had my assistant just literally point the flash straight out to the camera and just took 2 or 3 steps out and just kept going all the way down.
So, okay, so that's really important. You know, if you're going to do light painting, this is probably the most important thing, is that we're going to be light painting from the house flashing out towards the camera, because we want the terrain, we want to create the illusion that the terrain is being lit by the lights in the house. We don't want to flash toward the house. We want to aim our flashes from the house towards the camera, right?
Right. And one of the other things that if we take a look, and this is fortunate that we're actually going on a straight line.
Yeah.
And when we do a straight line, we don't have to change the exposure of the flash. So the exposure for flash is the flash to the subject distance. So if you're light painting and if you're going different distances, what happens is you start screwing around with the exposure, like there's hot spots on one area, and you have to start trying to balance those out. And it's hard when your distance is different when your strobes are different distances.
So just to make sure that I'm understanding this, Wayne, so here, what you're talking about is the distance from the flash to the grass.
Yep.
Right. So if you're consistent there, it makes it much easier in post, because you have the same exposure on the grass all the way across, correct?
All the way across.
Great. Okay.
So this is the cool part. We have, I don't know how many layers. So we have all these layers. And what I'm going to do is I have all these layers selected, and I'm going to do lighten. And what happens is it takes all the layers, all the painting that we've done, and you can actually see the grass.
Wow.
What's really neat now is what I do is, let me see. Okay. This is just a top layer. I'm going to take a black brush and I'm going to simply check out these highlights. Just go down and take out the highlights of this.
Because you're in lighten mode, right?
Because I'm in lighten mode. So so a black brush over that layer, over that highlight, and it's gone.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So once you've done all that, then I guess you can put them all in a group, and you can use your opacity slider to get the amount of light that you actually want on the grass.
Right. So we're going to go from that. That's the example of how I did it.
Yeah.
And then what I'm going to do is, that is what this looks like, with everything done. That's this layer. Oh, here's another thing. See how everything's blue and everything? The outside of the house. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this underneath, but I'm just going to take a mask and I'm going to take a brush. Oops.
No, you didn't get the mask on.
I didn't get the mask. And I'm just going to.
You're painting in black. Yeah.
Painting in black. If I get a brush. Okay, so we're just I'm just doing this quickly so we can actually see the process, but
nice.
It really works pretty well. And we're going to do this. Okay, I'm going to do Command Shift Option E, which takes all my work and puts it onto a layer.
Yeah.
I'm going to find this layer, put it underneath, and I can take another mask and take a brush, and let's just do like
50%. Yeah.
and just bring
Look
it.
at that. Look at that.
Yeah. So, and then we have the sky and everything. You can do sky replacement, do whatever you want. But what I've done is I've taken the properly exposed exterior,
Yeah.
and brought into the lighter interior, and we made it much more homey because the foreground is dark. That actually is like a uninviting barrier to the house. We literally are looking in.
Yeah, exactly.
Where this is, this house is now approachable.
It's warmer. It's much more inviting.
Yeah.
And it looks natural. I mean, given the amount of light that we're seeing in the sky, it looks reasonably natural.
Oh, one other thing that I totally forgot. I'm doing this light painting when it's relatively when we can actually see detail in the grass. A lot of if we were doing this light painting when it was dark, when it was what happens is it'd be bright, but then we would actually have that really dark fall off from where the light was. So
yeah, it wouldn't look natural at all.
Right.
That's really an important tip. Boy, did I learn that lesson painfully, waiting way too long in the evening to start my light painting. You want to start your light painting when it's not blackout. You still want, you want to make it look natural. You want to start your light painting if you do light painting.
If you do light
most of the time I don't now, but back then when I was doing light painting, I learned that lesson very quickly. You have to start much sooner than you think you do.
Right. And, because the highlights have to blend in with a more natural exposure. So that's another reason why it looks natural, is because we're changing the highlights, the exposure of the ambient light. So it looks natural. So that's what the shot looks like. And
that's terrific.
So the final looks something like that.
So actually, and this leads me to another point, because this is a very modern home, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the point that I wanted to make, Wayne, is related to the color of the interior lights.
Mm-hmm.
For me, in my eye, when you have a more traditional home like this one, for whatever reason, and maybe this is just me, but I think generally speaking, the interior lights look better. I think there's a better feel, there's a better match when I'm shooting a more traditional home, when the interior lights are on more that reddish orange kind of continuum. I think the interior lights just fits the house better. Whereas if we have a more modern home like this one here, if you were to go on Scott Francis's website, this is the first photo that he has in his architectural gallery. And as you can see, a very modern home. And yet the interior lights, one of the reasons why this shot is so successful are the interior lights. And as you can see, they're more on the yellow-white continuum. And I think that color, or that color range, works better on a more contemporary or a modern home like this one, whereas on a traditional home, the red-orange continuum tends to work better.
Also this, yes, the orange-red works, but again, like, you don't want it to go too far over. You don't want it to be reddish. You don't want it to be that bright red color.
Right. So, I mean, in terms of delivering this to the client, I'd be, kind of selecting these windows and pulling a little bit of the red out.
Oh, wait, leave this here. Okay, here's one of the things. This shot is just done with a single raw file. What happens is, if you would have taken this shot with HDR, and have the blend come together, what happens is the color starts smashing together, and you don't get that nice color separation between the window and the outside, because
right.
the colors start to blend, and it starts to have that kind of haze over the picture. So
That kind of muddiness, yeah.
the kind of muddiness is that then you know, a lot of people will go, yes, this is the perfect for HDR, and it's really not, because the luminance wise it's fine for HDR, but color wise, from the orange to the blue, those color ranges are so far apart that it'll muddy up the colors.
Yeah. So Wayne, I think that's it. So thank you, Wayne, for bringing your information in. Thank you to all of you for continuing to join us. We hope you enjoyed this two-part series on Twilight. If you have any topics that you'd like Wayne and I to review, please send them in. As per usual, Wayne is going to include our contact information at the end of the video. So please submit a question, a topic, maybe even a photo for critique, and we'll get to it. So thank you for joining us. Wayne, thank you as always.
Thank you very much.
And please join us again, folks, for the next episode of Photo Notes.
Thank you very much.
Take care, Wayne.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.